Loyns.
Hmm.
Okay. I always like get so nervous with the last name. I always feel like I'm gonna say it wrong. Okay. Let me switch over to YouTube. Make sure it's doing its thing. I think it is. It says it is, but I'm just gonna look as a guest on
Oh,
my phone real quick.
generation of sunflowers.
Generation of yeah, I said that right. A
Okay.
generation of sunflowers, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. Let me just go on my phone real quick. It's
Okay.
anxiety. Just wanna. And her live is really me just being like, testing,
Testing
testing,
one, two,
testing. Are
three.
you working? Are you working? Doesn't even. I'm pretty sure I'm live.
Is there any way I can check?
Probably if you go on YouTube and type in mentally Justine, that's the name of the YouTube channel.
Okay, I'm doing that right now.
It says I'm live, so I think we're good.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah, we're good.
there you are.
There we are.
Yep, live. There it is.
Okay, cool. All right,
Perfect.
are you ready?
Yes, let's do it,
Oh
girl.
wow, I saw 111. Okay, I'm like a big angel
Me too. I've been
person.
seeing them lots lately. Oh my god.
We gotta talk about that too. I love angel numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Loins. Look, I'm always like, I feel like I'm like that. Loins. I think I'm gonna say the mother ducker thing too. Okay, you ready?
Yeah. Go,
Okay.
girl.
What is that, mother duckers? That's so weird. I'm gonna let that part out when I actually post it on like the actual like podcast
Mm-hmm.
thing. Yeah, okay. What is up, mother duckers? This is Justine. Welcome to Mentally a Badass. Today we have Ally Loyns, who is the author of the poetry books A Generation of Sunflowers and Bloom. She discovered her passion in writing poetry when she was just 14 years old and sold over 100 of copies of her book. She is only in her early 20s and has dedicated herself to help empower others who have BPD to work on healing. I am so excited for you guys to get to know Ally more on a personal level. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, girl. I'm really excited to talk about BPD, my writing, and just about me.
Yeah, fun fact. When I was, I think, young, 13 or whatever, I did like poetry, but then I
Okay.
just didn't do it anymore. But I definitely can relate to you on that level. And I want to talk more. We're going to start talking about your childhood because we always like to dig deep into your childhood. That's like a thing here on Mentally a Badass. So of course, first question for you. So let
Yes.
me ask you, when were you diagnosed with BPD?
I was 20. So it
Okay.
was, or I was not quite 20 yet. I was 19. It was September of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And BPD, is usually developed from trauma. So
Yeah.
I'm sure there could have been obviously multiple events in your childhood, but let's talk about how your childhood was. Like, let's see, I guess, where can we start? What would you say had contributed to it? Like, were you bullied or
Hmm.
whatever you're comfortable opening up with? We like to just kind of
Yeah.
get just know you
To-
there.
totally. So, um, my dad was a single
Mm-hmm.
parent and raised me. My mother obviously gave birth to me. They were together for 13 months of my life. Mom and dad then split, and dad got sole decision making, not full custody, but sole decision making. I also had Nana and Grandpa. I love my Nana and my Grandpa. Takes a village to raise a child. So I
Mm-hmm.
was raised by Nana, Grandpa, and my dad. I went to a private Catholic school, and
Me too.
not fitting the mold really, really kicked me in the butt. If you didn't fit that mold, you
Mm-hmm.
would be bullied. So, to answer your question, in friggin' deed, I was
Yes.
bullied grade 3 through to grade 8 and
Me
into
too.
high school.
Wow, me too. Mine started in third grade too.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
this is gonna be a fun conversation.
Oh, yes, yes. So, I guess going back to family, I was raised by a single father and a nana and a grandpa. I will say the reason that I am as successful as I am now, stable, have my head on my shoulders, is because of the love my grandparents gave me.
Hmm.
Unwavering love, unconditional love. And not a lot of people have that opportunity to have that connection with their grandparents. So I'm
Yeah.
super blessed that I grew up with them.
Yeah.
And to this day, both of them are still, they're still here. So growing up was hard without a mom, not
Mhm.
having that cookie cutter family, being
Mhm.
bullied for that, being bullied for being a little bit bigger, for
Mhm.
being extroverted, for having one heck of a good voice, because I'm a classical singer. I'm trained in opera and
Oh,
classical
nice.
music. Yeah. So school was hard. School was always hard. Um, my dad did the best he could, being a single father, raising a daughter, not a son, but a daughter.
Mhm.
And yeah, he owned his own business. He owns his own business, so it was very, very difficult to prioritize being there for me,
Mhm.
unfortunately. And that's where Nana and Grandpa swooped in. Yay, I'm glad.
Yeah.
But I needed my dad, and I wanted my mummy.
Right.
Nana's mummy now. But
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I think that would be the beginnings of it.
Mhm.
I should add, throughout my childhood, there's been many stepmothers, many women, um, but they've never been my mum.
Mm.
My Nana is my mum.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I feel like, um, when was the first like stepmother? Because also, if you said there was multiple, then
Grade
if
three,
okay,
grade three.
yeah, because I feel like right when you hit grade three, like the time before that is when you develop like who your caregivers are. So
Yeah.
it's really hard, like for like a stepmother to really feel like they're. I mean, it's always possible, but you already had like you had your nana, so
Yes.
that particular spot in your heart has been already taken.
Yeah.
Um, if you don't mind, I don't know if you've mentioned. So you said that your mom and your dad were together for about like 13 months.
Well, they were together before they had me. They
Yes.
had me, and mum was not well enough to take care of me. She was not safe to be around. So
Oh,
then
okay. Was
dad
she
took
like
over.
abuse? Was she, if you don't mind, was she
Mental
abusive or
mental health
mental
issues and
health?
cocaine and weed and
Oh, okay. So she had
party,
the
party, party,
drugs
party,
and
party,
party
party.
and yeah. Oh my goodness. And then you and I both.
I was a weed baby.
Oh, we
I was a weed baby. Yeah.
yeah, no, my boyfriend's the same too. He had well, that's his life, but yeah,
Yeah.
no,
We're both special.
yeah. Well, I hope that I hope she's doing, better now. Do you ever talk to her or just completely cut ties?
I re met her when I was in grade 5, and
Okay.
she brought her daughter, her other daughter, who she had with another
Uh,
man.
okay.
And I was just very confused because
Mhm.
I had Nana as that mum role.
Right.
There was the stepmother who came in, and I should say, wicked, evil stepmother. The worst person that I've ever encountered in my whole life.
It's like a Cinderella moment.
Big time. She should be in jail.
Oh God.
Um, so I was wrapped around this stepmother's finger because she was
Mhm.
manipulative.
Mhm. Like a
Really,
narcissist, probably.
oh, big time. So I was wrapped around this stepmom's finger. Then I've got Nana, who's my soul mum,
Mhm.
and then I have actual mum. And I
Mhm.
felt very weird. I just felt like I don't want this. I don't want this.
Yeah.
I should tell you, though, that stepmother at the time did do everything she could to
Uh-huh.
put her foot to the pedal so
Yeah.
that nothing, she took me with that car, gone, so that I would have nothing to do with my mom. So she did kind of stop that connection. But yeah, she wanted me to alter herself. And at that time, I was vulnerable. I was like, yes, yes, stepmom, take me in. And she sure did.
Wow. So yeah, it does seem like from what I'm hearing that your childhood was definitely something you definitely need to like heal from. It was a little challenging. When was a time that you were like, I actually look, let's talk about your teenage life because you go through challenges when you're a child and you have a lot of stress and a lot of
Yep,
trauma was
yep,
made.
yep.
Usually when it goes into your teenage life, it's kind of like retaliating. Did you retaliate in high school and do certain things that you weren't pleased of or
No, I was always a good girl because of my
really?
grandparents. I am an old soul. I am a rule
Okay.
follower. I'm a good girl. I was a good girl in high school. I still am, but I'm a bit of a bad girl. We're not going to lie. But no,
I mean, we're
but
not
back
live or
then,
anything, or it's just not going to be posted on
right,
all
right,
podcast platforms or anything like
just a
that. No big
just
deal.
just a girl to girl conversation. But yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah,
So
I'm just,
I was a good
mhm.
girl.
Yeah,
I was a good girl.
that's good. And it's okay if there's something she don't want to talk about.
No, of course, of course. No, no, I was good. I followed the rules. I was a teacher's pet. Um, but I definitely had my internal struggles. And the reason I did so
Yeah.
well in school was I put
Mhm,
all of my depression, my suicidal ideation,
mhm.
all of it into my school. and I succeeded. At the end of grade
That's
12, I
great. Well,
graduated
I mean,
with
it's
a
not great
nine to
that you
five.
struggle, but um,
Yeah,
yeah, no. You know what's interesting is that I did really bad in like grade school,
yeah,
and I think it was like the ADHD. Even though this Catholic school said I didn't have any ADHD, and it was just me just being lazy and whatever. But when I went to high school, I was like doing pretty good in English.
okay,
So
yes.
maybe like I mean I'm diagnosed with BPD as well.
Hmm.
Recently, my newest therapist is saying that she believes I have quiet BPD. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes, and I have two friends that I believe are living with that.
Would you say
Yeah,
yours is quiet or no?
absolutely not. Absolutely
Okay.
not. No, I'm very outward with all of my emotions. None of it is internalized. I'm
Uh-huh.
very vocal.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense with what you do with your poems and such. I
Yes.
feel like this is so interesting because I didn't never even heard of, to be honest with you. I didn't know. I think I've seen the words quiet BPD on social
Yeah.
media, but I never really like knew of it. I just thought BPD, BPD. The
Hmm.
first I've ever heard of BPD was when I was diagnosed when I was 17, which brings me to ask you, when you were
Yeah.
diagnosed, was there a particular event that happened that
Yes.
triggered to go, yeah, do you mind? Would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, and this is what started a generation of sunflowers,
Mhm.
actually.
Yeah.
So I had a boyfriend who I started seeing at the end of
Mhm.
grade 10, and we
Mhm.
stayed together until I was 19. So
Mhm.
it was going on 4 years. He proposed to me. So I know it's nuts. So
To be honest, I
we're
didn't really react to that. I was like, okay.
we were anyhow we were engaged. It was a
Okay.
very tight knit relationship.
Mhm.
As you can see, family's a bit dysfunctional on my side, so I went headstrong into his family. Normal Christmases, normal Thanksgivings, normal birthdays, family suppers, playing board games, sitting on the couch. It was great. Their family was my family, and he was my home, and they were my home, and they were my rock.
Mhm. Favorite person.
We broke
Yeah.
up.
Mhm.
We broke up because sexual lines and boundaries were crossed.
Mhm.
We'll say that. We dabbled in some sexual stuff with other people at the end of our relationship, and lines got blurry, and I crossed them. I crossed them. I did.
Mhm.
I've forgiven myself for that,
Mhm.
but I did. We broke up, and it was
Mhm.
mutual at the time. It was. But I spiraled. I lost myself. January through to December of 2020. I don't remember. I blocked it out. Um, I replaced Devin. Whoops. I replaced my ex with
It's okay. We don't have any last names, so
yeah, no, it's good.
that's a
You
very
can call
common
me
name.
anyhow.
It's
You can
okay.
call me anyhow. No, so I replaced him with actually a girl in my life, and she became
Mhm.
my favorite person. It was
Mhm.
really bad.
Was it a best friend or was it significant other?
Yes, yes, this was a best friend who then
Okay.
turned into my mommy because I'm a little. I use little space as a way to relax and step out of being Big Ally. She was
Uh-huh.
my mummy. She was my dom. She was my best friend. She
Uh-huh.
was my girlfriend behind the scenes, I
Okay.
guess. And everyone knows about it now. But
Yeah.
anyhow, this is the long answer to to your question. But anyhow, I completely lost myself. She manipulated me. I felt like I was under a spell, like she was
Yeah, I
practicing
read that in your
witchcraft.
in your poem.
And I loved her. I loved her so much. But I saw the behaviors were very toxic, unhealthy, as my nana said, stalker ish.
Mhm.
And I broke ties from that. And
Mhm.
she got a partner, a boyfriend. It was a very sticky situation that I was in 2020. My
Oh,
ex
okay.
and
So
I,
it was pretty
ex,
recent. Well, yeah.
yes, ex and I broke up. I
Okay.
then found a rebound man who I'm still with almost 4 years later.
Oh, you currently with
It,
that person right now?
yes,
Oh,
yes,
okay.
yes. And during that first year of me and my current partner's relationship, I met this girl, and I fell in love with her. And he gave me permission to do what I wanted, essentially.
Like an open relationship?
Yeah, yeah, I guess you could say that essentially. And
Mhm.
everything was dandy and fine, but it got to a point where she gave me the ultimatum, and I obviously chose my current partner, and that was probably the best decision I made. I don't know where I'd be right now if I stuck with her. She was a very bad influence. But going right
Mhm.
back to all of this, I cut ties with her in September of 2020. Remember that date? That's when I got my BPD diagnosis. I hit,
September 2020. Okay.
yep, yeah, September 2020. I just I lost it all. And I hit rock bottom. I was smoking 14 grams of weed a week. I was cutting through the roof. I was having promiscuous sex. It was not good. And I looked at my life and myself in the mirror, and I said, I need to do something about this. This is not right. There is something. This is not Ally. There's something driving me to do this. This anger, this impulsivity, this self-hate, this fear of abandonment. Holy moly, there's something going on. I'm
Kind of like all
crazy.
happened at once, it sounds like.
It did. It did, and that's how such a powerful piece of poetry was created
Yeah.
through this. So, being 18, 19, 20, I did start doing research on why I had this intense rage that was uncalled for. It was just intense rage,
Mm-hmm.
the sexual promiscuity of me from a very, very young age, and impulsivity. Anyhow, the spectrum goes. I found BPD doing research on Google,
Mm-hmm.
and it really clicked. It made a lot of sense reading about its backgrounds, being parented by a neglectful parent or maybe a parent with borderline themselves. And I kind of leaned into that, and I brought it to the attention of a psychiatrist I was seeing in September of 2020. I said, I need help. I need help. I don't know what to do. I've lost myself. I've lost my life. I've lost my mind. I don't know what to do. And 2 visits in, she's like, yeah, you're living with borderline. And it wasn't an, oh no, it was a, I'm not
Yeah,
crazy.
relieved.
I'm
Yeah.
not crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't like to stick a sticker on my shirt and wear it like
Mm-hmm.
BPD. I am
Mm-hmm.
someone, with my poetry, it's very evident too. I like everything to be finished, concluded, tied up with a nice bow, put on a box, and put on the shelf. That comes with the control, right? I'm a control freak. But that's kind of what that BPD diagnosis did for me. It put everything into perspective for me. I was able to say, okay, I'm not psychotic. I'm not crazy. I have borderline. These are trauma responses because of the way I lived. And now we're just
Mm-hmm.
going to do the best we can. We're going to give yourself grace. And, actually, a life coach that I used to see said, you did the best with the info you had at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what has pulled me through all of the bad things I've said, done, thought of. I had to give myself grace because I did the best with the info I had at the time. I now have that info and can live humbly and live healthily and sustainably.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a long answer to your question.
No, it was a good answer though. I mean, it definitely makes sense. I've interviewed multiple different people who have BPD,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone has different story. I mean, but the same theme and the same that everything is relate is that it's the trauma, childhood trauma.
Yeah.
It's the same answer.
Uh-huh.
Just different types.
I
Like
should add, I should add
mhm.
in, there definitely is sexual abuse in this.
From I think from that the first one, the first person, the one that you.
No, my mother when I was a baby.
Oh
And
well, that makes
and
sense.
then
So
that first stepmother had a son who was very, very much older than me, and that went
oh
on for
god, I'm
3 years.
sorry.
Yeah, so I write about it
Yeah, that would
in
definitely add to it.
I write about it in here.
Yeah, I read this before bed a couple of nights ago, and when I was reading through it, I was like, okay, there was definitely some person.
Yep,
Like it
my
did sound like I'm
grandpa.
like, who is this? Was it like an ex boyfriend, an ex whatever,
No,
or something?
no, it was a
That's
stepbrother.
like, oh yeah, that's even worse. It's like, ugh, that gets me so like angry.
And this
Like I know I'm not
was
really showing it, and I guess it's part of like my masking that apparently is what I do. But
I was young.
that how old were you
Thir-
for that?
13, 14, 15.
Oh my god.
So that shaped the way I saw my teens.
Yeah, I'm like reading this right now.
There's a few pieces that talk about it. I actually don't speak about it in Bloom. Bloom is my second publication.
Yeah. I'm kind of mad that I didn't read it. I can't. My mindset was I was like, okay, I'm gonna put the giveaway so I don't lose it because I was like,
We'll
I don't
have to
want to be
send you
losing
one.
this stuff.
We'll have to send you one.
Yeah.
Don't you worry. But yeah, Agos was me getting my mental illness and my health off my chest so that family and friends could understand what I've been carrying, what has been on my
Yeah,
shoulders
you
for
literally
20
were carrying. I was just
years.
gonna say that, like, as you know, I have that as well. And plus with bipolar, And I was starting to have these moments when I was like 13 years old.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy is that they were always triggered. It was triggered by some type of breakup.
Yep. It
And
comes
I had
down
like
to
my
abandonment.
biggest one.
Yep.
I had a breakup when I was, I think, 16 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And dated this person for about a year. And then once that person started dating somebody new, forget it. That's when it went. I went a whole
Yep.
other,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean.
Yes.
And then that's when I had to go and I got diagnosed with well, they diagnosed me bipolar,
Yep.
and they were like, oh, we think you may or may have BPD. Like, and it was
Yeah.
kind of like it was so long ago. It was like
Mm-hmm.
11 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Long time ago.
yeah. But when you said 2020, and right now we're about to be 2024. Every time I think of 2020, I think, oh, that wasn't that long ago. I think it's because this pandemic has like
And that
the
was during the
time in our.
pandemic. That was
I
right
know.
in the midst of it.
Yeah.
It was
So
bad.
it was
Bad
definitely
time.
just, yeah, like I just feel like everything was building up throughout your whole life, and then it just all happened at once. Like mine was kind of a little bit more spread out throughout my high school
And
years.
that's kind of how my life goes. I don't have unfortunate things happen spread out through my life. It all comes in waves. It
Oh
every
yeah.
it's one big load, and then we're fine for a while, and then one big load again.
Are you very like self-aware?
Yeah, too self-aware.
Yeah, no, me too. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's like I feel like it's a good and bad thing at the same time. Like it's good, like
Word,
so you can
word.
know, okay, yeah, like I'm probably gonna go to an episode or
Yeah,
like I'm not acting proper, and then bad, it's like, oh great, I'm going to an episode. I'm
yeah.
like,
You got that right.
and then do you? Oh God, and it's like this morning I saw this girl I follow, and I actually had her on the podcast. Her name is Tiara. I found her on TikTok. And she posted a video this morning, and it was kind of like when you have a BPD brain, when you're waking up, and then the audio was like, "Yo, fuck you, fuck off this,"
Yep.
and I was like laughing so hard. I'm like, that is so me. Like, do you just like feel like how are mornings for you? I'm very curious. How are mornings for you?
They just feel like a normal morning, and a normal morning for me would be wake up, probably unrested somewhat, go to my meds, go with my coffee, and slowly wake up. I don't have inner turmoil in the mornings. If anything, it's at night.
I'm just like really like. I mean, it's normal for people to be cranky in the morning. Like I know that's, but I'm like, if you literally talk to me, I would be the meanest person ever, and then I feel horrible after. I would
Yeah,
literally be like, "Don't talk to me." Like I would literally hit someone's face.
and I used to be like that when I was younger, but then I got older, and I'm like, I don't need to be a bitch right now.
Yeah, it's just my when I wake up, my I think it's because the cortisol levels are really high, but it just feels like mornings are just so dreadful for me. Like I sleep really late, which is not good either. I slept like I think like 11 hours last night. Like it's bad. Like
Mm.
yeah, or well, I don't sleep throughout those hours like I
Yeah.
do. I think I set like I'll set my alarm at a decent hour, let's say 8:30, but I'll be like tossing and turning to like 10:30 or something like that.
Okay. Okay.
But but it's also could be part of my fault, not my fault, but like I have a very flexible life, which is not good too because I need to discipline myself. So
Yeah.
um yeah, maybe if I like I actually have to show up somewhere in the morning, then I'll be more likely to
Having routine is a big thing, and I think for people, especially with borderline, it's very, very important because we know what's coming next. It's the predictable. We've got control over it.
True,
We
yeah.
know. At least for me, that's my life. Totally.
Yeah, what would you say is like your morning routine?
Well, it switches depending on what household I'm at. If I'm at home here at Nana's, you know, like what I just explained, roll out of bed, go make my coffee, make my meds. I usually don't have breakfast because I've binged eat from smoking weed in the
Mhm.
nighttime, and then I get
Mhm.
really hungry, and then I'm super
Mhm.
full in the morning, so I don't usually eat breakfast.
I'm the same way. Is that like a thing that we shouldn't be doing? That's what I think
I
sometimes.
mean, having a
I mean, it's
snack.
probably not healthy for us to be eating a lot anyway.
No, it's not healthy, especially before bed, because it just sits in our stomach, and then
mm,
the next morning. But
mm,
back to my routine here. Yeah, I don't have breakfast. My meds, my coffee, and usually I get a call from my grandpa asking where I am, what he's doing, where he is, what he should be doing. I should add he's got dementia.
mm.
So it usually starts with talking to my grandpa.
Yeah.
Some mornings I do have the luxury of chilling, of stretching my feet out and
Mm-hmm.
relaxing with my cat, Rosie. Other mornings it's get up, go see grandpa, go give grandpa a shower, go take grandpa for an appointment. Life's very unpredictable for me, and that's really, really hard for me. Life
Yeah.
was predictable until grandpa got sick in June of 21. Life
Yeah,
was
I'm sorry
very
about that.
life was very predictable, and everything is now one day at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I'm not in a recovery journey from addiction, but one day at a time is my motto. It's one day at a time with dementia. No day is the same. Every day is different. And it is the
Yeah.
same thing with what we live with. Every goddamn day is different. You take it one day at a time. And days like yesterday, when we got very, very bad, heavy cancer results, I took it not one day, I took it 1 hour because that's all I could do.
No, I don't blame you. That's a lot. You did take it by the hour. It's a bad. It's really. I'm like really bad at responding to this, and I'm so
No,
sorry.
it's okay.
I
It's
can
it's
yeah.
it's a heavy load for someone that's in their 20s. I should mention I am a power of attorney for him. I am his health proxy. I am
Mm,
everything for him. There is no one
yeah.
else because of our small family, right? Nana
Right.
and Grandpa divorced when I was 6, and it
Oh,
lasted
I didn't
all.
know that part.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. This all comes down to generational trauma and drinking, and no one stopping it. And
Yeah,
that's what this girl's doing.
you
That's what I'm
are.
doing.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah. No.
divorced.
I and So you had you had your episode, and then you were diagnosed with BPD, and you're
Yeah.
taking care of yourself. So when that happened to you, 'cause at least for me, like when that happened to me, I didn't automatically go into like, let me get my life together and let me um be this. Well, also social media wasn't as big as it was when I was
Yeah.
diagnosed. I mean, we had Instagram, but it wasn't like
Yeah.
there weren't like influencers and
The stuff wasn't being talked
things.
about on social media.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I look at my Facebook memories and I'm like bitching about stuff I think like 10 years ago, but it wasn't like
Yeah.
no, I seriously look at that and I'm just like, I mean, I was such a different person. But yeah, I guess it could also be a different time thing too. I just didn't jump into doing like I didn't become a content creator until 2016. What was I in 2016? How many years ago was
I
that?
was sick. I was 16. Easy for me.
Okay, you were 16. I'm feeling real old right now. Um, yeah, you're like 5 years older than me. Yeah. I mean, no, younger.
You are.
Sorry, younger,
You are older than
younger,
me. Yeah.
younger. So you were literally
You were
like,
20. You were
I'm like,
21. You were 21.
okay. So yes, I was 21 when I started like doing content creating in it,
Yeah.
and it wasn't for like it was for fun. Like I was doing like comedy sketches. I was like
Yeah.
I was watching YouTube videos and I thought their videos were funny and cool. Like that was like the whole like DIY era and morning routines
Yeah.
and
And vlogging.
OTD vlogging. Yeah, like that's the time was. And then, to be honest with you, I
Yes.
really miss those days so much. It was just so like
Simple.
harmless. It was just cute. It
Simple.
was fun. And now it's like
The world has
TikTok
changed.
is just like some negative, and I mean it depends on which TikTok, I mean, like
What
that you're
community
really
you're a part of?
on.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think like when I was like watching YouTube stuff around that time, because I was watching it like 2016 is when I started, but I was watching like stuff in like 2014,
Yeah. Okay.
and it was just like cute and fun. It was kind of like a way to just get away from reality, and it was,
Yes.
but TikTok is just now like, well, sorry, now we have TikTok and just the creators on there, like the OG creators. It's just you were getting like famous off of being like hot or
Yeah.
the dances,
Yeah.
and it was just everybody who got big. It was like I don't know, like it. What I mean, good for them. I mean, to be honest with you, I do follow. Like I'm a fan of Charlie D'Amelio. I think she's adorable.
Okay. Yeah, I know that name.
I'm not really happy about her Walmart thing that she did, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
But besides that, like I mean, I still would support her. Like it was people make mistakes. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
She
So
did
it's
the best
fine.
with the info she had at the time.
Yeah. Plus, I knew for a fact it wasn't her that made her do that video. It was probably her social media manager. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right. But it was more like it was just a tone deaf TikTok that I was just kind of like rolled my eyes. I'm like, wow, this was horrible marketing.
Yeah.
But anyway, my point, I don't know where I was getting. Oh, I was saying that I loved how carefree and oh my god, hold on.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Someone was like calling me and then I have a Mac, so it like goes to my computer and
Oh, it's
interrupts
fine.
everything.
Don't worry.
I should put do not disturb on my phone so people. It's always like it's always just people like spam constantly all
Oh,
the time. So annoying.
so
I just ignore
annoying.
it. Um yes, I don't know where I was going with that. So oh yeah, so I don't know if you answered the question like what year did you decide, oh, I want to use social media to reach other people to help others?
22.
Okay, so that was like last
2022.
year.
Yep. Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
And I feel like you've gotten pretty far, like in just 1 year. That's pretty awesome.
I know. I am
Yeah.
this prairie poet in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. I'm not even in the capital of Canada. I'm just in Winnipeg. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I believe in the worth of what I'm saying. I am
You're
living
so
proof.
passionate. I love that.
Thank you. I am living proof you can change. It doesn't matter what friggin' age you are. Hell, I'm 23. I'm super young. And I'm
Yeah.
determined to stop and break the generational trauma because I am done. I am not letting any other boy or girl live the life I have lived. No.
I can definitely tell, like, with your tone of voice, and I'm very empathetic, so I'm like feeling it, even though you can't see it in my face right now. I look like I'm like, what is that word? Like poker face.
It's okay. It's all good.
But yeah, no, I get like this too when it comes to, talking about the mental health stigma and getting really passionate. And I love that. And I feel like let's transition to like angel numbers.
Yes,
Like
I
I've been really into that the last couple of years.
yes, so have I. Manifestations,
Mhm.
affirmations, energy, gratitude, journaling, all of it. It is
Mhm.
so powerful.
Yeah. It's I've heard from one of my guests. She told me she when I was talking to her about this, she said she didn't believe in affirmations, and I was like, okay, why? But she said the reasons because so she has a lot of knowledge on like I think she has like a master's or whatever on like the brain or and such. So,
Yeah,
so she said that when you're saying words out loud, your subconscious can't understand English. It needs to see something virtual. So if you're saying like if you're trying to say like, "Oh, I'm rich," or just like
yeah.
saying like those your subconscious is not going to truly believe it because it doesn't have anything to
Base that on.
prove
Yes.
to yes. So that's what she said. So I guess it was more than like, oh, it's not like I don't believe in it. It's just that she doesn't believe how people are using it. And
It comes with a deep belief, a deep seated belief in
yeah,
yourself first.
true. And yeah, so now it's like, okay, if I'm gonna say I'm rich, I gotta look at my bank account while I'm saying it or something like that. Like it's another thing. I mean, that's when the journaling comes in too. It's like at
Yes.
the end of the day, you write down what you did for the
Yep.
day, and then it
Yep.
would connect to your affirmations. Like, okay, like I reached out to Mentally a Badass to be on their podcast. I'm gonna reach a bigger audience. Like, like it's connecting it. And I'm like, I mean, she told me that and I had that conversation with her, which
Yeah.
by the way, I recommend listening. It's a really freaking good episode. I was like, my mind was blown. I'm like, that is
Yeah.
so true. I didn't
It's a
even think
different
of that.
perspective for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, she's amazing. And she does um she does really well. She posts like YouTube like every single day, and it's like her main thing is attachment theory.
Oh, yes.
That's like her main thing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's important.
So what would you say, this is kind of like more like a therapist kind of question to you, but
Mhm.
like what would you say is your attachment theory? Like your attachment style, sorry, attachment style, not theory. Do
You
you know
know
the
what?
four of them?
Please remind me because I've gone through this with my therapist actually.
Yeah, no, mine asked me the same question too.
Yeah, please do a Google
Um,
search.
yeah, I know them because one is anxious.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, there's anxious, avoidant.
Anxious avoidant. Hold on. Attachment styles. Oh my god, even pop-ups.
God, I've done
No,
so
I
many
do not want to
tests,
sign in.
so many
Okay,
tests
sorry.
over the years.
Secure, avoidant, anxious, and disorganized.
Avoidant.
Okay. Oh, really? So, because anxious and avoid are kind of like opposites in a way. I'm fascinated with your change. I want to know your thought process.
Like I said, life hit rock bottom. I looked at myself and my life
Mm-hmm.
and everything I wanted, everything I've done, everything I haven't done, and I said I need to do something about this.
Mm-hmm.
And your neural pathways are flexible. It's like your brain is moldable. It's plasticine basically. You can reteach
Mm-hmm.
it new things.
Mm-hmm.
And I shifted the way I saw things. And
Mm-hmm.
that did include the way I saw my parents. Again, I don't know if this is answering your question directly. Uh,
So the reason I asked that is because when I said anxious, you automatically were like, "Yeah, that's it." But then when I said avoidant, it's kind of because
I'm kind of
anxious, I think,
confused.
is more. It's like you need to be more attached to your significant other, and then avoidant is like.
Okay, I'm pulling them up here
I,
just because I
I
wanted
think
to look at it.
mine used to be anxious, but mine's more like secure now. That's
Here's a
because my boyfriend literally moved across the country for me, so I think I'm pretty secure.
yeah. I'm pretty just looking at this as we talk. I just searched up
Oh yeah, no, you're
attachment
good.
styles here. Yeah, no, we talked about this a long time ago. That's why I sound kind of clueless on it. But we have spoke about this. I know we have completely. It's cool stuff. It's very interesting, and it
Yeah,
answers a lot.
you know what's crazy is that for my undergrad for college, I have a degree in psychology, and I was like, how do I not
Ah,
remember any of this, like the attachment theory? Like I don't know, maybe I guess I didn't learn it. Maybe you learned about it in like your masters or something.
here's a question I'm going to ask the podcast interviewer now. What did they teach you about borderline, if anything?
What did they teach? I'm sorry, you can ask it
Yeah,
in.
yeah. So my question is, what was your conception of borderline when you were learning about it? Was it
Oh,
stigmatized? Was it incorrect information? Was it even talked about?
well, in high school, no, like not at all. Like I was diagnosed with BPD when I was like 17. So I was like pretty much close to exiting high school.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't mention much. He said more, he was focusing more on the bipolar. Like that was his priority
Mm-hmm.
because he said, okay, you definitely have bipolar and you may or may not have BPD. It was kind of like a little hesitant, but then I looked later on, like not that long ago, like Googling, and
Yeah.
apparently a lot of psychiatrists don't avoid doing a
Of
diagnosis when
course.
they're teenagers because it's a little harder and it makes sense
Yeah.
with the hormones and everything
They
like that.
they don't want to diagnose you with a mood or personality disorder till you're 18. That's why I got it when I was 20.
Maybe I was 17, I know that. So maybe it was just close enough for him, but I
Yeah.
also like was like cutting myself and I was kind of like
Yeah.
going and apparently I guess my story was like okay, yeah, right away. Oh yeah, you have this, you have bipolar. Like he was so like close to it and then I'm sorry, he was very like yeah, definitely 100%. Like he wasn't hesitant, but he
Mm-hmm.
was just hesitant with BPD. And I guess like with the BPD, you know what's crazy is that I've been to other psychiatrists over the years,
Yep.
and one psychiatrist in college was like, "Oh no, I don't think you have bipolar. I think you just have ADHD, anxiety, and depression." And I was like, "Okay," and then and then I was came here to Florida. I lived in New Jersey for 22 years, moved here to
Okay.
Florida, and then I've seen like
Is that where you
other
were born?
people. I'm sorry.
Is that where you were born? You
Yeah, New
said?
Jersey.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah,
Jersey
so
girl.
so I was born and raised in New Jersey, and then I
Okay.
moved to Florida when I started working for Disney.
Okay.
So then I started seeing like a psychiatrist and a therapist then, and then I did mention, oh yeah, I was previously diagnosed with this, but they
Mm-hmm.
still gave me kind of like a questionnaire test thing, and they were
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, you have it, and then like the other like it was just one psychiatrist I believe I didn't have it out of the
Yeah.
four that I've seen my whole life.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, probability wise, but who knows? Like maybe my symptoms weren't showing, I guess, as much. That can always be a
Yeah.
possibility because the main thing that, have your symptoms flare is stress. So
Yep.
think about like where you were at that point of your life. You were under a lot of stress at that time.
Yep.
And that's where everything
Yep.
just kind of like went off the rails and such.
Yeah. Well,
And
it took control. It completely enveloped me.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the main thing is stress. So right now for me, I'm not on medic. I used to be on medication. I was on
Okay.
medication when I
Okay.
turned 17. They just automatically put me on it. I didn't know much about it. So I was just like, okay, whatever the doctor says, right? But now I'm
Yep.
very opinionated in my
As you should
meetings
be.
and
You
stuff because I
need to
know a lot
advocate for
more.
yourself. Yep.
Right. And so he put me on Abilify and
Mhm.
it was doing good. Like I was like feeling more stable and more chill and whatever.
Mhm.
And then silly me, who didn't know much, was like, "Oh, I'm feeling better," and then went off
Oh,
it.
of course you did. And you're like, bye, I'm done.
When I
Yeah, that's
see
okay.
these things, I was like, "Yep, I did that." And
Yep.
then college came around, and I was good
Yep.
for 2 years actually. For a
Okay.
good 2 years of college, I was great. I think it's
How did you
because I'm sorry?
how did you manage your BPD in college without medication for 2 years?
So I was really big at the gym for those years. I was like
Okay.
literally like 2 hours in the gym, like almost every single
Mhm.
day. I was in a stable relationship.
Yeah.
So we had a good relationship and I was doing really good in school. And I
Good.
also was taken from an environment where people were like bitches and like bullying
Mhm.
and such. So in
Mhm.
college, there's not really like at least a community college. For the first 2 years, I went to community.
Okay.
So for the first
Yeah.
2 years, I went to community, and people there are really just there to learn. They're not really there for
Yeah.
much socialization and sororities and club. Like
Yeah.
like I mean, they obviously have clubs and stuff, but
Totally.
people go there to learn because
Yes.
yeah. So and a lot of people in like 4 years can be there just oh your parents made you or something like that's yeah. So I'm gonna get to that, but for those 2 years, I was able to focus a lot on my studies
Yep.
and then so I did really well, and then I had a good boyfriend, so I was
Good.
good, and then I was working out, and he would work out, and then
Mhm.
I also was making pretty good money for an 18-year-old. Um,
Okay.
I was working. Well, actually, not the first 2 years. I worked at a restaurant, and
Okay.
then after the restaurant business, I worked at a bank, and I worked at
Mhm.
TD Bank. You may know it.
TD is my bank.
Yeah, it's my bank too.
TD Bank. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it originated from Canada, so
Yep.
but yeah, so I worked at TD Bank as a teller and I was making
Mhm.
pretty good money for like someone who's like 19 years old. So my
Yeah.
finances were pretty fine. Everything in my life was pretty good. And
It was stable. You could
yeah,
thrive at that point.
and at the time I for New Jersey, like if you could get your like you can do as like a file as like an individual for health insurance and then
Mhm.
even though I still lived with my parents at the time, I was only like 18, 19. I was like 19 years old. This was 19
Yeah.
years old. My parents were like, oh, get off our insurance and go apply for state insurance. And I was like, wow, why are you kicking
Mm.
me out? And they were like, no, do it. And then what I did, they gave me free health insurance because
Mhm.
the state saw me as poor because of my
Okay.
income. I wasn't working like part time,
Yeah.
like I was in
Yeah.
college and I was working part time. So
Uh,
all they look at your income. And they're like, "Oh wow, she's only making like $10,000 a year.
yeah.
She's poverty." So
Yeah.
they gave me free health insurance, and
Mhm.
I was like, "Oh, this is the best thing ever." So like I didn't have to worry about health insurance. Everything was free. Like that's
Yeah.
great. Like the amount of like no stress. So
Yeah.
yeah, for those 2 years I was great. And then I also took
Good.
that time to build a lot of like I did a lot of healing then. I was very confident
Good.
because I was in a good relationship and
Good.
he made me feel worthy and then he was just great for me. And then
Nice.
and then we went to the same 4-year college. I actually met him
Mhm.
in my 2-year college and we
Okay.
went to the same 4-year college together. And that's when the stress kind of came back. For one,
Mm.
college obviously got a little bit harder.
Yes.
Two, I was rooming with people who were horrible to me, like abusive, like verbally abusive.
Oh.
Like that could be a whole other story. That could be a whole other podcast
Oh.
episode. I actually wrote an article about it if you want to see it. Um,
Send it.
but yeah, so that was a lot of stress. And then I was living with them, but it was getting really hard with mental health. So I moved in with
Yeah.
my boyfriend in his apartment thing,
Mhm.
and it was getting
Mhm.
too close together. Like the
Yep.
room was not
Mhm.
big. Like so we're
Yes.
of course bickering and naturally. So
Mm.
we were doing a lot of fighting, and there was a time we almost broke up, and then obviously didn't. And then that's when I got into the college program, Disney college program, junior year of college. And then I went away to do that. So I was away for 3 months, away for a semester
Yep.
of college. And then during that time, he met somebody else.
Oh.
So we broke up and then I went off the rails again.
Mhm. Yeah.
um, so that was like one time went off the rails. And then I came back senior year of college. And that's when I was saw a second psychiatrist.
Okay.
So that was the next time I went off the rails. And then,
So you'd be 24 by this point, probably. 20.
Oh no, I was 20. I was 21. So I was
Oh,
diagnosed when
still.
I was 17. I was 21. So I was diagnosed when I was 17. I was
Yep.
good for like a couple of years, and then 21.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And then after, this is actually really interesting. I'm not used to the guests asking me questions about me.
It's important.
But I would say the next time I went off the rails was when I moved out of my parents' house, like officially, and got an
Oh yeah.
apartment in Orlando, worked for Disney, and I wasn't getting paid a lot, but I expected it
Mhm.
because, you're just starting out and such.
Yeah.
Um and then I had some stressful roommates at that time as well.
Mhm.
Um and I was actually went into the ER from a panic attack. And then I went back to therapy when I got better health insurance. Because in Florida, so like in Florida, I did the same thing. I applied for the same health insurance in Florida, thinking it worked
Mhm.
the same way, but it
Yeah.
doesn't. The United States is not really united. And
No.
when I applied for the same insurance, they denied me. And I was like, but my
Oh.
income is like the same. And like, it's not that great.
Yeah.
My income's horrible. It's like in poverty
Mhm.
line, pretty much. And
Yeah.
then they were like, well, you don't have a kid. That's literally what they said. They're like, because you don't have a kid.
We can't give you health insurance because you don't have a child. How the hell does that
Well,
work?
they can't give me like affordable health insurance. Yeah, I was pretty pissed.
Yeah.
So, actually no, I'm gonna say it just wasn't free. It was more like it wasn't free, but um I remember my mom really wanted like was pushing me to get health insurance as soon as
Yeah.
I got to Florida, and she was like, so I was like stressed out and I just kind of got whatever, and it ended up being like
Yeah.
the worst health insurance ever. Like I ended up in ER for that panic attack and they didn't really cover anything. Like it was horrible. Yeah.
Oh.
So from there, but then after that year, because I was doing
Mhm.
internships with Disney. So when you have an
Mhm.
internship with Disney, you don't get health insurance. So once I was hired on full
Oh.
time, well, it makes sense though, because if you're an intern, they,
Oh, okay. Okay.
maybe it's a US thing, but like employers only are obligated to give full time employees health insurance. So if you're
And that
part
makes
time,
makes sense.
yeah. So if you're an intern, you're not really employed that they're investing in long term. You're pretty much like, okay, you're here for 3 months. Like, we're not going to give you health insurance. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's fine. Like, I wasn't mad about that. Like, I totally get that. But once I was hired on full time, then I was able to get Disney health insurance. And then that's when I went back to therapy and
Now
psychiatry.
you're not working for them right now, are you?
No, no, I
No. No. No.
left.
No. No.
Yeah, I left working for them 2022 and I work for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. You were saying that. Yep.
So now I have health insurance with the state,
Yep.
and my income's not poverty line anymore. I'm making more money now, obviously, but um, it's low enough for me to still get a little bit of a government like tax credit, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah. I
nice.
get that too. I get that too.
Yeah, yeah, which
Yeah.
is great because like if I didn't have any of that, I would have been paying like $400 a month for health
Yeah. Right.
insurance, and it's like not even good, that great. Like I literally have a doctor's
Oh.
appointment on Monday, and my copay is $85.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's a specialist because I have glaucoma, so it's
Okay.
like this is like a
Do
specialist. But
you?
yeah, I'm a right eye, one eye,
Oh, I
thank
didn't
God.
know that.
Yeah,
I
well,
didn't know
I
that.
don't really talk
Wow.
about it that much on mentally best. It's not really like mental health, but yeah, no, that's a whole other story.
No, but that completely contributes to the way you see yourself, the way
Yeah.
others see you, the way you perceive. Like it's very valid.
Yeah, no, I should talk more about this because no, at one point, like about couple of weeks ago, I was like
Hmm.
my medication, I was getting allergic to it, and I was getting like a lot of red
Oh.
eye. I don't know, it just came out of
Oh.
nowhere. Um, and then I was like even like talking about because um my eye doctor was more focused on keeping the pressure down. He didn't really care too much about the
Yeah.
cosmetic look. But in
Hmm.
my head, I'm just like, I'm a young woman on social media. Like, I'm sorry to sound like vain, but
No, it
I'm
makes sense.
care.
Uh huh.
I don't have a red eye, and yeah. So and plus, I just don't like looking at myself. I told my therapist, I was like, I don't like looking at myself in the mirror. I literally sometimes brush my teeth in the dark. Like it's so sad saying I was like,
No, it is a part of your story, and I think you should be able to talk about it because
yeah. I should have like a whole
I
episode and be like, new trauma, let's go.
no, I mean I too have I am healthy, but I do have um, women health issues, and it's not great, and it does
Hmm.
contribute to my mental health. I write a piece about it actually in Bloom, my second publication, and it's
Hmm.
called Cervical Dysplasia. it's a part of my story,
Mhm.
and your health issue is a part of your story too. It is. It's very valid.
Yeah, I don't know if you follow her. There's a one person that actually I was on her podcast and she interviewed me about it. She focuses a lot on like autoimmune disease disorders,
Okay.
as well
Okay.
as like mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have like I told my whole story on there about like my whole glaucoma. Like I've had eye issues since I was born, like
That's
from birth.
unfortunate. That's unfortunate. And you know what? You were allowed to play victim for 5 minutes and say, "This is not fair. I don't deserve this."
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Sometimes I try to just like focus on my left eye. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, I got one eyelid. Like, 'cause there's
Yes.
people out there when they get glaucoma, they get in like both eyes. Like, that's like the
My
worst
grandma
thing.
has it in one eye too, and she does eye drops.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you should probably, because it's hereditary. You probably gotta keep checking your eyes just in
I,
case.
I get my eye pressure checked because it's a little bit high, just a little
Oh,
bit.
yeah, yeah. I think it was like a great grandfather, I think, or someone I never even met had it
Yeah.
in my family or
Oh
something like
damn.
that. Yeah. But anyway, I'm gonna like to change the subject because I'm just gonna get depressed. But
To digress.
and also we're already like 50 minutes in, girl. Wow,
Oh,
that was fast. Well, I mean, we took like 5 minutes to start, but
that's
yeah.
true.
So let's
But
talk about what what you do. I mean, you were kind of already told us like your routine and such, and taking it easy. And so your treatment plan essentially, would you say like medication and like what else would you say that you could like what you do to help cope with your BPD
yeah,
symptoms?
yeah. So we'll start first by my writing poetry.
Mhm.
It is my way of processing, um, looking at my situation without those, rose-colored lens and that disassociated film. I'm able to look at it objectively, see it, process it, and put it back on that shelf, as I said. So
Mhm.
poetry is number one. Two, yes, medication's a big thing. I have been on the medication journey since I was 15, and I have
Oh,
tried over,
really?
yeah, I've tried over 12 medications. Um,
So, sorry, can I just back up real quick? So,
yeah,
you 15, you were on medication, but you were diagnosed with BPD.
yeah, when I was 20. So obviously, back when I was dealing with anxiety and depression,
Okay. Yeah. I think we
I,
kind of kept that out of your story.
yeah, yeah. So I was dealing with that at the time,
Okay.
and I needed medication. So I was very forthcoming with my pediatrician at the time.
Mhm.
No stigma at all. And my nana
Mhm.
was involved with my health journey as well at that point. We started medication. We would try them, didn't work. Try them, didn't work. One works. Then it's time to get off it and try another one. There was a lot of trial and error. But
Yeah.
now I'm at a place where my medication is good. I am on 3 different medications and another 3 or 4 supplements, but that's just to keep me well, like
Yeah.
biotin and vitamin D, C. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, so I do take 3 medications. Medication is not the only thing that gets me through this and then will get you through this. It's just one part of it. You
Mhm.
have to be able to pull out your inner child,
Mhm.
talk to him or her,
Mhm.
heal her, and integrate them with you. That's a big part of BPD. And that comes with therapy, talk therapy,
Mhm.
D, in addition, doing DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy.
How
That
does that work? I've heard of it, but I've never like done it.
it was helpful when I was in the midst of my using a lot of weed.
Mhm.
Um, I needed to do something about it. So I got on a wait list for this program called CODI, CODI, through the Health Science Center here in Winnipeg. And
Cody,
yes,
CODI.
CODI, co occurring disorders. It was
Interesting.
addiction with co occurring disorders. So,
Okay.
yeah, so we were using DBT through the lens of helping addiction and cutting back and quitting or stopping.
Mhm.
So, DBT really, really helped me. I'll tell you why. It is sectioned into 4 categories. We've got distress tolerance, emotional regulation, uh, mindfulness, and interpersonal relationships. Those are 4 different ones. I didn't repeat anything, right?
No.
Good, good. Pea brain, sorry about that. So, yeah, there's 4 different categories, and they all, I would say those are the 4 main categories that people with this psychiatric disorder need to work on. One, mindfulness. being present, being in your body, feeling what it's doing with no judgment, being
Mhm.
aware of your surroundings, feeling your emotions. One. Two, distress tolerance, learning how to sit with these heavy, passionate, enveloping feelings without letting our void take over. Take over in
Mhm.
the means of spending, sex, uh, gambling, whatever it be, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Distress tolerance, learning your sustainable, stable coping mechanisms. Three, um, what was it? Emotional regulation.
Mhm.
That's, I don't remember a ton for that unit. I do have the book still, but it was learning things like respond, not react. That is a big thing with emotional regulation. If,
Oh,
if you're
yeah.
reacting, you're way up here. You're mad. You're raging.
Yeah.
If you're responding, you're putting a ceiling on that rage. That was
Mhm.
just one example. So there's that, and then what I end with interpersonal relationships. Learning what you need, learning what the other person needs. Learning sometimes in a relationship it's going to be this.
Mhm.
You have to hold them in a hard space. They have to hold you in a hard space.
Mhm.
Setting boundaries,
Yeah, boundaries is really big with me.
saying
I'm
and
a big
no,
boundary girl.
saying no, learning to say no and putting your
Mhm.
needs first, no matter how
Yeah.
hard that is. And that's something I still struggle with, actually. I wrote a piece about it in Bloom, my second
Mhm.
publication, called
Mhm.
Boundaries Are Healthy.
Yeah, I'm like a I used to have 0 boundaries, like, when I was younger,
Yep.
like,
It's,
0 boundaries, and now I'm just like and it's crazy, so when you do set those boundaries and people think you're like a bitch.
yeah, no. And it's, you know what? They're going to have to set them one day themselves, and they're going to understand how hard it is.
And here's crazy is, like, the best piece of advice I ever received, like, in my life when I was younger, when, like, bad stuff would happen to
Yeah.
me, was my course teacher said, "When you're in high school, you're in a fishbowl. Once you graduate, you're in the ocean."
Yep.
And that meant so much because when you're in high school and you're just like that's kind of like your little society and there's not as many people there than it is around the whole world. And then
Yes.
when you graduate and go off to college or go off moving to a different state or
Yeah.
whatever, even a different country,
Yeah.
you realize like, oh my God, like my core teacher was right. Like I'm literally in the ocean now and meeting other people.
Yeah.
And when you're in high school, and you're having like emotional or this and that, people just thought I was like annoying or whatever. But it was just I just didn't meet the right people, and that's
Yeah.
just it's just like I wasn't meant for living there. So a big reason I moved to
Yeah.
Florida was when I was working for Disney and I met people from like all over the world and we all had like different mindsets and views and it was just so refreshing.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, people are actually nice here.
Yes.
Like, it's kind of sad that I'm thinking about this when I lived in New Jersey. Is that anytime someone was nice, it's like there's an agenda or someone's two faced. Like that was so the norm.
Like when are they
And
going to turn
then
on me? When are they going to stab my back?
yeah, it was a lot of that. I'm not gonna say everybody was like that. Of course, I have still some really good friends,
Yeah.
a couple,
Mhm.
but there was a lot of just how people are
Mhm.
in that state. And then when I come to Disney, and I'm like, wow, people are actually being nice to me and it's like real. And
Mhm.
that's something I had to like heal from is like if someone like not if like you if someone's nice to me doesn't mean they're gonna like talk shit about me later because
Yeah.
when I was bullied through my biggest bullying moments were being bullied moments are
Yeah.
third to fifth grade. I've
Mhm.
had like everybody hated me, everyone was always talking shit about me like all the time. Like I literally come home like crying. Like I had to leave the school because that's how bad the bullying was. I had to
Mhm.
switch schools.
I did too in grade 8.
Yeah, and then when I went to the new school in 5th grade, we were in, like, recess time or whatever, and there was, like, these 3 people just, like, in the corner just talking, just really just hanging out, like, snack time,
Yeah.
but in my head, I was like, "Oh, they're talking shit about me." Like,
It's
I will never forget that thought I had in the gymnasium, and I still
mhm.
can visualize it, I remember how exactly it looked. That just showed right there I kinda, like, developed a little bit of PTSD where I'm just
Mhm.
like and it's like at the time, I didn't know that
Yeah.
what PTSD was, or I
Yes.
mean, at the time, PTSD, we think war,
Yeah.
this and
Mhm. Car
that,
car crash.
car crash, right?
Yeah.
we didn't think about all the bullying that we went through
No, it
is like
shaped us.
super, it shapes us, and especially it happening during those critical years of your life
Yes, yes,
when you're
yes.
developing your sense of identity.
Mm-hmm.
And I recently posted about that, about the whole self identity. Because sometimes I just have like a whole self identity crisis. Like, who the heck am I? I don't know who I am. Like, who am I? Like, I go through a whole like self identity crisis. I
And
went through one
that's
like last month.
and that's a staple of BPD.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it's like I didn't even. It's just like, do you ever have a hard time like remembering your childhood?
Yes. Yes. I don't remember a lot.
Yeah, I can't tell if it's the trauma or if it's just like us
Both.
getting older and our
Both.
brains are obviously like you
Both.
forget things.
Well, there were so many good moments and so many shitty moments, but so
I
many
feel
good
like
moments.
I keep remembering so many bad moments. It's really bad. Like my mom's like, "Why do you only remember this about me?" And like I was like, "I don't know. Like I remember you like
Doing
scaring
such
the
and
crap out of
such.
me
Yeah.
every yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. But and it kind of makes me like angry at myself because I'm like, why am I only remembering the bad? Like I'm sure like my childhood wasn't as bad as I'm really thinking about it right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's but also like we didn't have like I kind of wish I was a kid during the social media world so I could have like at least looked back. I mean, I have photos, like there's photos,
Yeah.
but it only says so much.
Exactly.
And like my dad had home films, but they're like in those like cassette things and I can't watch it. So
Ah.
that's how old I am.
Oh, girl. You're not ancient yet. You're okay. You're good. You're good.
I always call my boyfriend old. He's 30, he's 31. He's gonna be 32. I call him an old man all the time.
Yeah, mine's 37.
Nice. Love that for us. Uh, I'm like I'm like getting completely off like track now.
No, it's okay.
The whole live stream on YouTube is gonna be completely like unfiltered. Like we're gonna be, but when I actually like post it to like the whole like all the
Yeah.
podcast platforms, it's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
edited and a little filtered to the point where like it needs to like every part needs to be pretty relevant to the topic,
Oh,
and but
totally.
it's
Well,
normal for us
yeah.
to be kind of like going off on like different
Tangents.
tangents and such. I do it all
Totally.
the time.
Well,
Yeah.
you know what? I have a really good way I think we could close this. And I think
Hmm.
me reading a poem from
Yeah.
one of my publications would be a really great segue to doing that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Usually I always like end off like we can do both. Like I like to end off with what's like a one big piece of advice based off of
Yes.
everything we spoke about that you
Yep.
would like to provide my audience because whoever listens to us most likely has BPD or wants to hear your story. So, what's the
Yes.
piece of advice?
And I've got one. And it actually ties
Okay.
into a piece that I wrote.
There we go. Perfect.
So, my two mottos in life, as we talked about, one day at a time. That's really, really important for me as a dementia caregiver. Um, as someone that lives with BPD, that's how I live.
Mhm.
But one thing I've learned as being an advocate, physically here in Winnipeg, online, meeting people like you and other podcasters and other accounts, we are stronger together.
Yeah.
We are stronger in numbers as sisters, as brothers, as theys, as thems. We are stronger freaking together. The more we talk about this, the more it's not going to be shamed, the more it'll be
Mhm.
okay to live with, and the more
Mhm.
okay it'll be when someone's in that dark night of the soul to say, I need some help.
Yeah.
I need some help right now.
Mhm.
And I think this moves perfectly into the piece I wrote, and it is titled "Stronger Together." Actually,
Okay.
I wrote it for our community, for the BPD community. "Stronger Together" from my second publication, Blue. Writing for you, for us, reinvigorates my purpose and validates my why. It reminds me I too am not alone. Stronger together.
Oh yeah. I knew it was something like that. I was like, I haven't been to a
A slam
poetry thing in a
poetry, yeah,
bit.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
I was like, okay, I know they do like a. I'm like, you're right. It's this. I feel kind of stupid right now.
No, you good, you're good.
I had them. Hey, the people who are listening audio, they wouldn't even know that I'm like.
Oh heck no, they wouldn't know. No, 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 no.
That's what I meant to do. Thank you for helping me.
I got you, girl. I got you, sis. Got your back.
Yeah, no, you're so sweet.
I
All
try.
right. So, thank you for coming on. Thank you for reaching out to me and connecting with us. You are definitely a perfect guest for
Thank
Mentally a
you.
Badass, someone who has been through shit
Yes.
comes out strong. Well, I'm trying to change my wording because I'm seeing now that some people don't like to be told that, oh, your trauma made you stronger. Like some
It
people don't
did.
like to hear that.
It
Yeah, everyone has a
did.
different opinion about it. So I like to try to like think of both, if you know what I mean.
It made me the woman I am today.
Truth. Yeah,
The
your
siren I am today.
yeah, it's like your trauma, yeah, made you into the woman you are today with
Yes.
fighting for other people, and that's where
Yes.
kind of like where I think of like we're all like little like angels, and that's why like we have like these angel numbers because we're very open to it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of like which actually when we get off this, I want you to listen to the song. It's called God's Favorite by Nessa Barrett.
I will.
Yeah,
I
no,
will.
I know you will love her, and I talk about her
Yes.
on this podcast a lot.
No, I'm
I
gonna
would
listen.
love to have her. I try to like post a bunch of TikToks being like having Nessa on my, but it didn't really go anywhere. But maybe one day, I don't
No,
know.
you keep pushing. You manifest that shit. I'm serious.
Yeah, I
I
know.
have not gotten where I am without
Hmm.
manifestations. I made
Yeah.
a reel, and it was affirmations that started my career. I
Oh.
am a best-selling author.
Mm-hmm.
I am selling books
Look at
abundantly.
your Etsy sales. Why you say that?
Yes, and
Look at your follower growth as you say that.
I am a successful self-published author on
Slay.
Etsy and in bookstores. And she's doing it 6 book signings later at 23 years of age.
That is really cool. I'll have to go to
Thank
your
you.
book signing. That required me to
Thank you.
fly to Canada.
Yes, it would.
Yeah. It's on my way. So what part of Canada are you in again? So we're 1 hour behind.
I'm right in the middle.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
middle. I'm Manitoba.
Because like I kind of wish you were on like the west because my
BC,
boyfriend's
British Columbia.
yeah, my boyfriend's family lives in Washington. That's where he's from.
Mm-hmm.
So like he lives in by Seattle area, so
Okay.
literally Canada's like a drive.
Yeah,
So I'm like, oh, if I
same
go
thing.
there next time, I could just easily just drive to Canada.
We'll make it happen. We will. I've got so many internet girlies that I want to just have a supper with and a chat and a coffee.
Like a coffee or just like chilling. Yeah, no,
Mm-hmm.
I love that. All right, well, thank you for coming on, and thanks for everyone who's listening. I will put the link to her books in the podcast description. Go ahead and buy her books. It will make you cry like it made me cry in a good way.
Yes.
In a good way, not a bad way, in a good way. And yes, and stay tuned for. I used to say next week's episode all the time, and now I have to change it because I'm not as consistent as I was like before.
Okay.
Okay, so gotta change my wording.
Yep.
Okay, let me see what flow it. Thank you guys for listening to this episode, and stay tuned for the next episode of Mentally a Badass. I feel like I sounded like sexy, like thanks, mother duckers.
Yeah, like ASMR in the fucking mic.
Thank you, mother duckers, for joining on this episode.
Yes. No, that was
But
really
the mother
good.
duckers thing, it just randomly came to my head. But wait, let me stop it here so we